Hey there. There is tons of management literature about how to give feedback. Every manager and leader has read it, and there's a bunch of variations on that. But what there isn't a lot of is information about how to effectively receive feedback without becoming defensive or upset or getting your feelings hurt. And so this is a really big issue because if you're a manager and you're trying to give feedback, but the person you're giving it to is either recalcitrant or they're uncoachable or they're defensive or they start crying, you've got a really big problem on your hands because it's difficult to develop those people. So from the other side, how can you prepare yourself to get great feedback and have it be useful without upsetting you? Well, there are a couple of tips. We all drag our past along with us. And if you had a tyrannical boss in the past, then the odds are you're expecting your new boss to be the same. If you had parents who were highly critical, you might have had an experience where that criticism upset you, made you feel defensive, made you want to say, wait a second, it's not really that way. You might have felt misunderstood. And when you're getting feedback in a work environment, you don't arrive as a blank slate. You arrive as somebody with all that past that you're dragging with you. So the first thing we all need to do is know what those past experiences are. Because if you can identify what those incidents were that made you crazy when you were first getting them, whether it was a boss, a teacher, a parent, or somebody else, then you can sort of put it aside and remind yourself that this moment is not that moment. And this version of me is not that version of me. I am not an 8-year-old me. I am an adult me. So that's the first thing to do. But the other thing to do is to reframe the whole experience of getting feedback. Imagine you're an Olympic athlete and you're really hungry to win. You're ambitious. If you were an Olympic athlete, you would hire the very best coach and you would want the most specific, unheld back feedback you could possibly get. So one way to enter an environment where you're getting feedback is to remind yourself, I am on a mission to win. And the only way to win is to get the feedback that will let me correct myself, grow, and develop my competencies and my ability to observe my weaknesses and correct them. The other thing you might do is imagine two possible futures. In one future, you're defensive and you refuse to let that feedback penetrate. But in another version of the future, you absolutely embrace that feedback. You say to yourself, this is awesome. And you internalize it, you take it to heart, and you do whatever it recommends. And finally, there's one more thing you could do. And I also use this at cocktail parties, by the way. Think of yourself as a reporter. Get super curious about the feedback. Ask a million questions. What do you mean? How could I correct that? Can you give me a specific example? How do you think I should think about that? And so forth. If you put yourself in the mindset of a reporter who really wants to understand exactly what the person giving you feedback means, you will get so much value out of it. Moreover, you will leave that person who's giving you feedback with an experience of having made a difference. And the final tip I have is try to think about why this person would bother to give you feedback. Because the odds are, unless it's just an evil person, which you might have had as a boss in the past, the odds are your boss is giving you feedback because they are standing for you. They are committed to your growth. Not only do they want to produce the result in the business, they want to produce the result in growing their team and promoting you and enervating your ability so that you become the very best employee and ultimately the best leader you can be. So hopefully this has been helpful because getting feedback is, if you're doing anything, inevitable, and so is dragging the past with you. So put the past aside, become super curious like a reporter, and you will get so much benefit from feedback. Please subscribe to my channel. You can do that right below. Also, I love to get your comments and recommendations for other kinds of videos and points that we could look at from the standpoint of management, leadership, and high growth startups. And finally, please go to my website, beyondbetter.io, and subscribe to the newsletter. You'll not only get links to the videos, you'll also get more extensive articles with references that you can look at to get the background on these videos. Thank you so much.